Wednesdays, club sandwich. Drop off individually wrapped sandwiches at the MCC, 112 Simpson Avenue, anytime before 8 o'clock Wednesdays or Thursdays before noon. Wednesdays from 7:30 to 8:30 at night, there's meditation with Reverend Wayne, and that's over Zoom. All around us on the gallery is Wayne's Mindful Journeys in photos and prose, and if you haven't looked at them yet, it's well worth a walk upstairs to see them. Calling all greeters. Are you available to welcome people on Sunday mornings? If you are, please contact Luann at shipplou@gmail.com. Offertory counters are needed to count and record baskets, donations in teams of 2. It's about 20 minutes only, and it takes place every 6 to 8 weeks. Training is happily provided. See Veronica Taylor if you're interested in that. Volunteers also needed to join the Lifespan Learning Committee. We'll need more volunteers to run the program as we reopen. For more information, it's lifespanlearningnuke@gmail.com. The Healthy Congregations Committee meeting is having an orientation for our newly revised Respect and Dignity policy, as well as other new documents. Those documents will offer us the tools and resources necessary to address and resolve conflicts amongst our membership, and that will be 2:15 to 4 o'clock over Zoom next Sunday. The Neighborhood Nominating Committee is seeking nominees for at least 2 to 3 open positions on our Board of Directors before our April 24th AGM. You have unique skills and perspectives, and we gain from those, so consider giving service and engaging in spiritual growth through leadership and shared action. If you're interested, curious, want more info, contact Moira, Nominating Committee Chair, at moiramcdonald@rogers.com. The Social and Environmental Action Committee will meet today after service in the Margaret Lawrence Room. That's over to my right or your left, I guess, if you're facing me, or straight ahead or directly behind you, depending on where you are. You can find it, it's not that big a place. Housing, Homelessness, and the Environment, Tuesday, April 5th at 7 p.m. via Zoom. 2 speakers, Marwa Riga and Tim Gray, talking about policies and programs on housing and homelessness in Toronto East, what a comprehensive housing plan would look like, gaps in our present policies, and ways we can advocate for change. And there's a long Zoom link, which I won't read out, but it'll be in the Monday announcements if you're interested. Live and in-person talent night next Saturday, 7:30 to 9-ish, hosted by MC Allison. Everyone is welcome. That's both live and in person. Musical opportunities with Neighborhood. The Comfort Choir sings Friday afternoons in the Palliative Care Ward at Michael Garin. Common Thread in the Streets, monthly Saturday evening rehearsal, is an activist choir for singing at rallies, protests, demonstration, and pickets. If you are interested in being part of either of those wonderful choirs, contact Susanne, music@nuke.ca. Earth Day service. The Active Hope Small Group is leading our annual Earth Day service. The first step in Active Hope is coming from gratitude. As part of the service, we will put together a slideshow of photos of the natural world that you are grateful for. If you have some photos, I think I may, send them to Susanne, music@nuke.ca by Monday, April 18th. In the second part of today's service, Reverend Wayne will ask, what line in our invocations speaks to you? Ponder this topic, and we hope you'll be willing to share when the time comes. Next Sunday, the theme is What We Have Built Together. The service weaver will be Kurt Thompson, the speaker will be Reverend Wayne, and music will be coming from the Spirit Band. Thank you.
Thank you, Peter, for doing that. We welcome you to our Neighborhood Unitarian Universalist congregation here at Neighborhood. Thank you for joining us both here and those people coming in via Zoom. We are having some technical difficulties, so the people on Zoom may or may not get some screen shares, and they might not necessarily be able to participate in Joys and Concerns. So just a little heads up about that. My name is David Renzetti, and I will be your service leader this morning from here at Neighborhood. This service is being recorded, both for our own service purposes and for YouTube. We also release it on our website if you'd like to see it, or if you like to refer other people to it. Joyce's concerns will be edited out. If you have privacy concerns, we ask that you turn off your camera on Zoom and you can rename yourself. Now, we have nowhere else to go, nothing else to do. Let us bring our hearts and minds and spirits together as one, as we give greeting and gratitude for being here with each other. This is our threshold moment. Let us transition from that outside world of pandemic and war and into this sanctuary of peace and love and acceptance. Let us enter sacred space together. Our service begins now. I ask that the chalice be lit by Lauren Renzetti. Susanne provide us with our prelude.
Good morning, everyone, and morning to Laura Thomas, our accompanist this morning. Fortunately, we don't have our projectors working, so I'll just tell you a little bit about this piece. This is Draw the Circle Wide, with music by Mark Miller. We've done a few of his songs here in the past, including We Resist and I Choose Love. He's an American Methodist composer, with words by Gordon Light. This song was introduced to our choir during the pandemic by Hilary Donaldson of East End United, and is a favorite of their choir. And a really warm welcome back to my choir, the Spirit Choir, singing in service for the first time since February 2020.
Thank you, guys. I was going to use 3 slides to do my land acknowledgements, so I'll describe them to you. I remember being in school, and I was shown the political map of North America. We're all pretty familiar with it. It shows the boundaries. It shows the people who live there. It says Canada, where the Canadians live, America, the United States of America. It shows Mexico, where Mexicans live. But whenever in school I was presented with a map, pre-colonial or pre-settler, I was shown a physical map. I was shown a map that just showed North America with the plains and the mountains. There was no people there. And recently I came across a native drawn map of North and South America. And North and South America were actually peppered with people all the way from the Arctic Circle to Tierra del Fuego. So the next time you're presented with a map, that pre-colonial map that is just a physical map, maybe in your mind, you could put the Wendat in there, and the Haudenosaunee, and the Ojibwe, and the Chippewa, and the Inuit, and the Métis, because they were here for as long as 30,000 years before the settlers. Good morning and welcome. Our minister is the Reverend Wayne Walter, and our musical director is Susanne Maziarz. And the choir is back. Zee Getchell will tell us an amazing story for all ages. And we also have Gordon Thorne, Reese Rogers, and Jason Laprade helping us with the technical side of things. We all know the Zoom etiquette. If you have joys or concerns, please don't send messages to everyone because it is a bit distracting. And for those of you, we also have a wiggle room, which is, where's our wiggle room?
The glass door right there.
Okay, the glass door right here is the wiggle room. So if anyone feels wiggly and they want to go in the room, they're free to do it. It's not, you don't have to, okay? You don't want to. Keep an eye on your parents, okay? We are open to many beliefs here, and we learn from many traditions. We welcome all people to our religious community. If you're visiting in person for the first time, a special thank you and a special welcome. We encourage you to stay after service, and our minister or staff can answer any questions you might have about who we are and the things we're involved in. Our services can also be quite different week to week, so we ask if you are new, come 2 or 3 times before you make a decision, because they can be quite different from each other. Our mission here is at Neighborhood is to empower spiritual growth and shared action for the care of our world. Our theme for March is learning, lessons and learning. And our theme for today is building a bigger picture. The story that came to my mind when I thought of that theme was I had a really good friend, Gabriella Calapos, and Gabriella works for a group called ICLEI, the International Center for Local Environmental Initiatives. I know it's a big mouthful, but think global, act local. That's their whole mission. So I was very excited when Gabriella agreed to come to our kids' grade school and teach the grade 2 or 3s an environmental project. And she came in and she said she was going to work on the issue of car idling outside the school. And I remember I was really disappointed. I was like, really, Gabby? You know, all the issues in the world, this is what you're teaching the kids? Well, a few weeks later, I was actually dropping the kids off and then I had to go to work and a phone call came. So I was idling outside of the school. And a little tap came and I rolled down my window and there was a little 7-year-old with a clipboard and a badge on it. So and I said, excuse me, sir, you've been idling for more than 30 seconds. And I said, well, it's winter and I want to keep my car warm. Well, sir, actually, most modern cars take less than 30 seconds to warm up. And some of the environmental problems with this ozone, and he listed them, and he educated me. And he gave me awareness about what I was doing wrong. So now when I look back, I realized that Gabby was actually a genius. She didn't save the world, but what she did was she taught 30 or 40 young kids that they can make a difference. They can find an issue that bothers them, and they can educate people, and that they can change the world. Thank you, Gabby. And now it's time to greet our neighbors. So if you'd like to, and in a way you feel comfortable with, if you'd like to greet the neighbors around you.
Hi everybody, nice to see you. I'm sorry for all the technical problems today, and we'll try to get it up going for next week.
Thanks for trying. Morning, Susanne. Hey, Terry. Juliana. Ellie.
Oh, can we hear you?
Yeah.
Good morning, Deidre. Good morning, John. Hi, Ellie.
Good morning.
Hi, Brad. Nice to see you.
Can hear me, but good morning.
Hi, John. Hi, Barbara. Hi, John.
Okay. Hi, Beatrice.
Hi, Deirdre. Hey, Barbara. Hello. I went for a long skidoo ride yesterday.
It's now time for our opening words, our invocation. We can't project them, so I'll start and people can fill in as you remember. Let us cast the circle of a sacred space here. Let us cast the circle of a cherished space here. A space of safety, a place of forgiveness, a place of love. If we want the world to change, we must craft in our space and in ourselves the seeds that grow a different kind of life. A life of graciousness, of creative intelligence, a place of life and spirit for ourselves and our families. And now I ask Susanne to introduce our first song.
So we don't have the lyrics, but I'm going to teach you them really quick so we're able to sing this all together. Repeat after me. Gathered here in the mystery of the hour.
Gathered here in the mystery of the hour.
Gathered here in one strong body.
Gathered here in one strong body.
Gathered here in the struggle and the power.
Gathered here in the struggle and the power.
Spirit, draw near.
Spirit, draw near.
And let's sing it. I'll sing a phrase, you sing it back to me. So it says, gathered here in the mystery of the hour.
Gathered here in the mystery of the hour.
Gathered here in one strong body.
Gathered here in one strong body.
Gathered here in the struggle and the power.
Gathered here in the struggle and the power.
Spirit, draw near.
Spirit, draw near.
Try putting all of that together.
Gathered here in the mystery of the hour. Gathered here in one strong body. Gathered here in the struggle and the power. Spirit, draw near.
One more time, make sure we got it.
Gathered here in the mystery of the hour. Gathered here in one strong body. Gathered here in the struggle and the power. Spirit, draw near.
Great, and as we build the bigger picture with Red Wing today, we're going to build a bigger picture of harmony with the congregation as well. So I'm going to have, I'm wondering how we'd sit. So sopranos are going to sing with all of you over here on this side. Tenors and the basses in the center are going to sing with all of you in the center. And my alto section over here is going to take these folks on this side. And we're going to try this as a round, as a chant. Can we rise in spirit? As you're able. So let's sing it one more time, everyone all together. Then we're going to start with this section, then this section, this section. And once we get to spirit draw near, we're just going to keep calling spirit in. Let's start with some instruments, huh? Mystery of the hour. Here we go.
Gathered here in the mystery of the hour. Gathered here in one strong body.
Morning, everybody. While Susanne gets the name of that composer for the last song, I would like to invite everyone young and young at heart to come up close, because it's time for Lighthouse.
Was written in 91 by Philip A. Porter.
Philip A. Porter, 1991. Thanks, Susanne.
You're welcome.
Good morning, everyone. It's nice to see you all today. Oh, that was nice. So today we're talking about building a bigger picture. And I have a bit of a secret for you. Most of the time, when you want to build a bigger picture, you actually don't have to do very much building at all. The bigger picture is already there. You just need to notice the signs of it in the picture that you already have, slow down, and step back to see it. I have 3 examples of this that I'm going to share with you today. The first example is something called a photo mosaic. Oops. And if you don't know what a photo mosaic is, I'll kind of break the word down a little bit. The first part is kind of easy, right? A photo, it's a picture. The second part is called a mosaic, which is a pattern or a picture made up of a whole bunch of different pieces. It's something that's often seen in like tiles and stonework. Or that on the screens right there, yeah, a mosaic of stained glass. A photo mosaic is a picture or a pattern made up of a whole bunch of smaller pictures. Now I did have a slide for this, but most of you won't be able to see it. But I have it here for you if you can take a look. I know it's a little blurry, but that blurriness is sort of one of the signs of the bigger picture involved here. And you can see in that picture, although it's a little blurry, you can see someone kind of hanging out with Winnie the Pooh. And although it's blurry, that's a complete picture in and of itself, right? But if you step back and take a look, you can see that if you look where the arrow is pointing, you can see that that picture is actually just part of the shoe of Mickey Mouse as he's standing there as a wizard with a wizard hat on. And if that picture was much bigger and you got real close, you'd be able to see a whole bunch of other people and a whole bunch of other pictures in there. So that's my first example. The second example is me. And really, any person would work as a second example, but I know me best, so we'll go with me. If you were to look close at my life, you might notice me here and see me as a religious educator. Or you might notice me in my other job and see me as a construction worker. You might know me as a dad to Cameron or as a partner to Rebecca. You might have seen some of the signs of my bigger picture. In the last few months, I've shaved my beard, and I've stopped going by Zach and started going by Zee. And if you were to step back and look at my life as a whole, you might see me as the transgender woman that I am. And my last example is this building that we're all in. If you were to walk, bike, or drive past the building, there's a slide that's just about to get passed around of the outside of the building. And if you were to go past this building on the Danforth, it might be pretty easy to see a large imposing church and think, well, I'm not Christian, that place isn't for me, and keep on going with your day. You might miss the sign that says Danforth Multi-Faith Commons. You might miss the fact that there's a Jewish congregation that meets here, and our own UU congregation as well. You might miss the signs across the front of the building about the Out of the Cold program and all the other community work that happens in this place. So I encourage all of you, next time and every time that you think you have the whole picture, to slow down, step back, and see if you can widen that frame a little bit to see just a little bit more. And for the first time in 2 years, let's go back to our program, shall we?
can't get that to work very well with the mask and everything. It's hard. You probably all know that when we started at Neighborhood, we met in several places. We met at the back sanctuary of the Metropolitan Community Church. That's pretty nearby. They were very kind to us, partly because they started in the basement of Toronto First. So when we came there, they were like, oh yeah, come on in. And we met at the Beach Synagogue. They allowed us to have small meetings there for almost a year. I don't even think they charged us. They were so kind. We met also at the Beaches Arts Center, the park, Norway Public School, Norway Anglican Church. We met at the Therapy Center on Kingston Road. And we also met, it was a little creepy, but we met in the chapel at the crematorium, at the cemetery at Norway and Kingston Road and I think Dundas. Keeping things together, setting them up every Sunday, moving them every time we moved to every location. It was a major chore. I think several of us tore our backs out by moving chairs and tables. And this thing, which was very, very heavy, our lovely cellist, we cursed it and we love it. We averaged moving every 4 months, if you can imagine. And when we purchased the building on Hiawatha, it was a great relief. We were building a bigger picture. How could we imagine putting all of this together? A new spiritual community, new people who didn't know each other, all the things that were the accoutrements of being able to have a service together. And you can see them just in around this room. We had a place to serve coffee, serve food. Because it was so much easier to set up for services and meetings, we could put our energy into the building administration, some spirituality that had depth, and the organization of our spiritual community. We could have a choir. And I was imagining how to build a bigger picture of Sunday services in our new space, and someone innocently said, and rightly said, we need some opening words for our new congregation. And I thought, one more thing. At first, I thought we could simply copy the opening words from many of our other Canadian congregations. I realized they didn't reflect us, though. And some of those opening words were tired a little bit and worn. I realized that we would have to write a new one, or maybe I could start by writing a new one. They had to reflect the people we were, the people who already came, and yet also be open to people who would come. It's like drawing the circle wide. They had to be spiritually and psychologically current and relevant. I wanted words that helped us build a bigger picture, not only for those who came, but for those who would come. I wanted words that would inspire and aspire to be timeless, focusing on how we must consistently grow and change until our lives are over. And that spirituality is a lifetime learning. And when I sat down to write them, of course, I felt completely inadequate. How could you write something like that? I felt inadequate because I heard so many bad things said at the beginning of a spiritual service. When people are too glib, how is everybody? It can sound a little like a sitcom. And when people are too cozy, oh, my friend, my friend, my friend, it doesn't really welcome new people who don't have that coziness yet. And if it's too descriptive, too matter-of-fact, it doesn't inspire at all. As I was thinking, I knew we needed to hear words that might point to the social and spiritual depth we were seeking. Words that reminded us that life is not tidy. It's not easily definable. It includes mystery. And we need to mature in our lives and into the lives of those around us. And that's not always easy. And at that time in the congregation, we had a very healthy pagan group. We were celebrating pagan services every few months. First Beltane, then solstice, and of course equinox. We would set the chairs in a circle, and Kendrew and Kaya and Cal Lorimer would begin the services with a blessing. I remember Katya going around the circle of these chairs. She had really long blonde hair then, and she had this like yellow scarf, and it would kind of trail around her with her as she went around. I imagined they were casting a spell that might invite our tired bodies sometimes and our worn minds often to a place of healing and growth. One morning I sat down, inspired by the pagan services and the pressure to produce Neighborhood's opening words, and I began. Let us cast a circle. That's how I remembered the pagan services. And the rest flowed pretty easily from there. I wrote about a safe space, forgiveness, and love. I didn't imagine a super safe place for anyone. You have to be tough to be part of a spiritual community, but I imagined a safe enough space to speak your truth and to listen to others. I added forgiveness because when we speak our truth, it can hurt someone else's feelings. And I knew we would have to apologize and forgive each other. Then if we did this, if we spoke our truth and apologized and forgave, we would build trust together. And trust over time becomes love. We need trust, of course, to love. Otherwise, love stays a fantasy. These are the seeds, truth, forgiveness, and love, that grow a different kind of life, where we can be gracious and creative and intelligent. When I finished, everybody offered reviews. The music director at the time was Vivian LaRiviere. She smiled. Jamie Milroy was our RE director, and I think he loved them. He gave me a big hug. Katja and Kendrew and Cal, our pagan promoters, were pleased, so I read them one opening Sunday. No one said much of anything, but they did ask for them again. Good sign. They made copies and glued them in hymn books. I understand a couple of Canadian congregations heard them and took them as their opening words, attributing them to Neighborhood. After I wrote them, I remembered an old quote by philosopher Friedrich Nietzsche, that the essential thing in heaven and earth is that there should always be a long obedience in the same direction, which would result in a life worth living. I hope that when we said these words again and again, instead of seeming like a chore or repetitive, it would become a tiny part of that long obedience toward creating a loving and forgiving and trusting community. I hope these words would become part of how we try to build a bigger picture. Several years after I wrote them, Susanne and I went to a similar conference for musicians and ministers about how we might better develop the start of our services. We brought back the idea of a threshold moment, do you remember? Yeah. I always wondered if one day we might add the opening words to the threshold moment to better begin our services in a spirit of pause and depth. It's not for me to say anymore, but I imagine it might work. And finally, a few people who didn't have children asked if they could modify the ending of those opening words. Joan, my partner, and I were so busy with our children at the time, we forgot many people did not have children of their own. So it was easy to adapt and add our new ending for ourselves and our families. Gathered here together builds a bigger picture. And it doesn't always have to be dramatic. It can be simple and subtle, like Dave said in his story about the little boy knocking on the door of his car. Subtle can be sustainable. Each time we come here, each time we open our heart, each time we have our heart hurt and forgive, speak of joys and concerns, sing lovely songs each time we say opening words. If we do it sincerely, it means we're striving toward a long obedience in the same direction, which has always resulted in a life worth living. I just thought you might want to know how those opening words happened. And in the second part of the message, I'll ask what they might mean for you. Raise your hand and I'll come over. I would have had them on the screen, but let me read them to you again. Let us cast the circle of a sacred space here. Let us cast the circle of a cherished space here. A place of safety, a place of forgiveness, a place of love. If we want the world to change, we must craft in ourselves and in our space the seeds that grow a different kind of life. A life of graciousness, of creative intelligence, a place of life and spirit for ourselves and our families. I'll read it again, and maybe if any of those words has kicked around in your mind, I'd love to hear it. Maybe all of us would love to hear what they is. Thanks for listening.
Thank you for that, Wayne. This is a unique time in our service when we invite you to share a joy or concern in your life. I light this final candle to represent all the joys and concerns that remain unspoken in our hearts. I asked Suzanne to introduce our next song.
Oh, yes, I'd love to. Just to follow up on David's candle for universal peace, the choir is going to sing a Ukrainian lullaby. I'll read you the translation. It would have been up on the screen above. It's called "The Dream Passes by the Windows." This is an approximate translation from the Ukrainian. And as we sing it, we're sending out peace and love, especially to all of the children affected by war around the world. The dream passes by the windows and sleep by the fence. And the dream asks sleep, where should we rest tonight? Sleep answers, where there is a warm house, where there is a tiny child, there we will go to spend the night and rock the baby to sleep. May the cat purr and the child sleep. The little cat will purr and the baby will sleep.
use meditation as a way to transition right into prayer. Sometimes when we're so quiet inside ourselves, a prayer can come out in a way that would never have come out before. So use the tool, maybe, of your breath to center yourself. Take a breath in and a breath out. It's such a powerful tool. 20,000 times a day. Rhythm, need, intimacy in our breath. So intimate. Sometimes it's easy to be distracted by our thoughts. Let the meditation practice bring us from distraction to right here, right now. And we can use our breath. Each time we get distracted, come back. And we heard so many of our friends and loved ones are dying. Can you say a prayer that they find the magic that allows them to let go and allows us to remember? Can we say a prayer for our own well-being? You know how. The words will come. C.S. Lewis said that he prayed not to change God's mind, but to change his, and to open his heart. Can we pray for the war that goes on in places we know and in places we don't? the space. Keep our breath close, intimate. And I wonder if you might see meditation and prayer like that as something so intimate that it's really only for you. And slowly come back. So I don't know if anybody has an impression of our opening words, but I'll read them again. Let us cast the circle of a sacred space here. Let us cast the circle of a cherished space here. A place of safety and a place of forgiveness, a place of love. If we want the world to change, we must craft in our space and in ourselves the seeds that grow a different kind of life. A life of graciousness and creative intelligence, a place of life and spirit for ourselves and our families. And I understand that we can get people from our Zoom connection who might be wanting to speak too, but does anybody want to say anything? No? Yeah.
Yeah, I just, when it comes to our opening words, the first line, let us cast the circle of the sacred space here, kind of sums it all up, because it's more for me than just meeting with a great community and talking about interesting ideas, that there's something bigger than one idea and bigger than one person that draws me here and brings me here and allows me to invoke the mystery that, and everything's a mystery as far as I'm concerned, that will make us all bigger than the parts that we bring here, that makes us wholer, and without that essential thing, the sacredness, then everything else is just sort of just hanging out.
I'll take a little while to walk around, but I'll try to.
For me, it's the line creative intelligence. That creativity for me is the way to find my way to the mystery. And I've been around a lot of spiritual and religious communities where creativity isn't as highly valued. And it really grabbed me the first time I was here to hear that this is one where it is valued.
For me, it's about the craft in our space as an artist. The fact that you use that word means that we can shape and manipulate and change. And the seeds that grow a different kind of life means that it's not ending. We get to keep trying and reinventing and improving upon ourselves and the world around us.
I love the word graciousness. In the Bible it says, it is by grace alone that you enter the kingdom of God. And it's similar to what was said before, that my mystery and my ego and my instincts and my reactions live in a space with other people's, and that grace makes it bigger than just my limitations. So I love the word graciousness.
Kurt, are you standing to speak? I'm going to come right next to you, and I've got the microphone.
One of the lines that really means something to me is the seeds that grow a different kind of life, because there are many different types of seeds, and some of the seeds I like to plant to grow are seeds of language that help to change our views of how we see ourselves and each other.
Thank you.
For me, it's a place of love. I've been on my way to service on a Sunday morning after the last member of my parents' generation died, my Uncle Glenn. I've sat on a choir Sunday with a bruised heart after a broken relationship, and I've had people wrap their arms around me and love me. That's what gets me.
For me, it's about practicing how I want a different world. And I need practice. And this is where I practice how to do that, a place of sanity and love and forgiveness. And so I need to practice it here and embody it here, and then I can take it out.
I don't think I could pick one line, but the feeling that it all encompasses. As a pagan witch, building off what Lauren said, humans are notorious for giving away power we do have to fight for power we can never obtain. And so the feeling of the whole invocation really captivates the power that we do have within ourselves and when we work together.
I'm going to get there. I'm just trying to move around the wires here.
The last word, family, for me, because this is turned into a family of sorts for mine as well. The first time I came here as a pagan, to have that first line was like, oh, this is my space. It's got stuff I already know in it. So it made me want to come back. And then as it was being read, I looked over and there was a group of children and they were all doing it from memory. And I thought, like, I want that. And my kids over time now are that. And it's just amazing for me.
Do we have anybody, Jason, that come from our Zoom connection?
Yes, we do.
Tell them that it's time that we can hear them.
Jason, can you just... Okay, we have Tony. Tony, would you like to go ahead?
Sure. Like Lauren and Kurt, I would flag the seeds to grow a different kind of life. To me, this suggests the unlimited potential of the present moment. But also, I have a slightly different memory about the change in the last line, ourselves and our children. Because what I remember, and this is complementary to Wayne's explanation, is children saying it along with the rest of the congregation and substituting for ourselves and our parents because they wanted to be able to speak it truthfully. So the new version is inclusive of this.
Thanks, Tony. I remember that now too.
Lorraine, would you like to go next?
Thank you, Gordon. I'm a visitor from Nova Scotia, and I thank you for welcoming me. With the invocation, I love the combination of and the spiritual, the collective being together in spirit, and the sense of a pause on Sunday with together, but the connection to also the importance of the seeds of change and making change out in the world for a better world. So it helps me. This invocation helps me. Again, like others, build strength so that when I go, there's so many worries in the world, so many things to do. It helps me build strength.
Thanks, Lorraine. Dee Dee, would you like to go next?
Yeah, I wanted to say that I appreciate the last line.
ourselves and our families, because it shows that we're not static, that we're open-minded and open-hearted and can work together to listen to each other and our ideas and our thoughts, and able to find a way to change them.
Does anybody else have any responses? Just raise your hand. I think that's it, Wayne.
Thanks very much. Thanks, Gordon. We would have seen people's faces on the on these screens. I'm sorry we didn't, but I'm glad we could hear them. Thank you both very much over there for getting that together. And I have to tell you that I sat in these chairs, I don't know, months, years ago now, and I watched the children do the same thing, read that, and I thought, that's what I want to have happen too. I want us to have embedded in our minds the things that are such good filters that when we don't know what to do, those are the things that pop up to us. Thank you all for listening and for participating and for being part of all of this. Thank you.
Now is the time for our offertory. Sharing of ourselves is part of every faith. Volunteer efforts are essential, but salaries need to be paid, and heat needs to be paid, and rent needs to be paid. Baskets will be walked around by our two greeters, Lauren and Dave. Members of neighborhood choose to give in a variety of ways. Some do basket donations. Some offer predated checks to the office. E-transfers and automatic withdrawals are also possible. If you're online, please use the link displayed on the screen, which leads you to our donation page on our website. In all ways, I ask you to be generous. We'll now pause, and Susanne will play We Shall Be Known.
We shall be known by the company we keep, by the ones who circle round to tend these fires. We shall be known by the ones who sow and reap the seeds of change alive from deep within the earth. It is time now. It is time now that we thrive. It is time we lead ourselves into the well. It is time now, and what
If you have found love and acceptance here, if you have found home here, if you have known kindred spirits here, let this offering be a token of gratitude for our common life as we build the common good. I'll ask Susanne to do our final song.
Our closing song would have had the lyrics above, and we only had enough hymnals for the choir. So we're gonna sing for you the last hymn because there's lots of words, and I don't expect anyone in the congregation has it memorized today. Number 1028, The Fire of Commitment. If we could rise in spirit.
Lauren to come up and extinguish the chalice as we sing our chalice extinguishing song.
Although our chalice has been darkened, behold the fire within our own hearts.
Can I leave us with a blessing that we don't close our hearts? And that's not such an easy thing to do, because when we're hurt, the first thing we do is close them. So I bless us all then we keep our hearts open. You know, at the end of our service, we used to say this because we weren't here in person, but we'll break out into breakout rooms on the internet, on Zoom. But if you wanted to have a quiet conversation with some people and talk about something, or maybe talk about the opening words, those two rooms, one right there and one right over there, it would be easy for you to go and sit down and have a quiet conversation. What's that?
C is meeting in that room.
Oh, I'm sorry, C is meeting in that room. So it would be one of these two rooms. Thank you, Nancy. Well, I'm not going to ask people to hold hands. If you want to hold hands, that's fine. But and maybe we could just look at each other and say namaste, and maybe catch eye contact a little bit. It means that we see the divine inside you. Namaste. Namaste.
Namaste, everybody.
Peace, everyone.
Namaste to our little Zoom gathering too.
Namaste.
Namaste.
Welcome, Lorraine. I'm glad you could join us today.